And we are live. Welcome, folks, to episode 3,549 of the Survival Podcast. As I said yesterday, we don't get to finish the live streams for the week on an even number or a 5, right? No 3550. That's going to be an expert council show tomorrow. I'm excited about this, though. I've had the folks from Get Alby on before. They reached out to me. It was either on Nostr or X, I'm not sure, saying, hey, we want to come on again. Like, fill out the form. I am always for talking about Bitcoin and Bitcoin technology, freedom and freedom technology, and things that bridge those two together. Man, I am always down with that. We probably only do about one Bitcoin breakout every 5 to 6 weeks now. Probably should be doing more. So I was happy to have them on. I've got Moritz. He's going to be on with us in just a minute. He's co-founder of Alby. We're going to talk about a bunch of stuff today. We're going to talk about the Alby Hub, what Alby is, how it works. If those of you who emailed me for an Alby invite code because you don't have an Alby account and you wanted one, if you have not heard from me as of now, and you did it before now, you need to email me again and make sure you put TSPC in the subject line. TSPC Alby is even better. But I've gone through all my junk mail, everything, and I've responded to everybody. I think I sent out like 40 invite codes from yesterday, just from mentioning it. So if you want one, you don't have one yet, that's what you need to do. Email me, jack@thesurvivalpodcast.com, TSPC Alby in the subject line. For those that are new, the purpose of the TSPC is I get about a gajillion emails a day. That's a little exaggeration, but not much. Tons of it goes in the junk mail folder. I have run a couple search strings in the junk mail folder. If it doesn't show up, mass delete. That's the only way I can keep up with things. That's why I do that. I'm not being a pain in the butt or anything. Anyway, with that, before we bring Moritz on, let's go ahead and take care of our sponsors of the day. You know, we're talking about Bitcoin today, at least partially. That is a way to build and store your wealth. And if you want wealth, then you need, there's always say about investing, before one can invest, one must save or one has nothing to invest, unless you're investing other people's money. And so you want to build your wealth. If you listen to the Wealth Studying podcast with John Pugliano, you will get the information that you need to be able to do exactly that. And the thing about John that's really cool, John is one of us. He is not just a podcaster and an investment manager. He's a prepper, man. This guy grows his own food, stores the food, ham radio operator, member of the expert council, and all-around good dude who has helped out this community for more than a decade now. So you definitely want to check out his podcast. It won't take much of your time. It's only about once a week on average. You know, John's a boomer. He slows down a little bit, doesn't get out, 2 or 3 a week or anything like that. But it's cool because you learn the real market highlights really quick and easy, and from a guy who really has the heart of a teacher. Next up today, Anton's Land of Biltong. Because I'm just feeling like a nice guy today, you know what I didn't do? I didn't bring some of my biltong in here to eat it in front of Moritz on the show like I did last week and the week before. But I did get my shipment in this week on Monday from Anton's Land of Biltong. You've got to try this. And Anton is still trying to clear out his inventory because he's moving his physical store. He's on the wrong side of the local Karen-style government, moving to a more free area of North Texas, so you can help yourself get some biltong. You can get a discount if you're an MSB member, and you can help a man who's a really good dude fight the state all at the same time. Those things don't always come together, and that's about running out. I think he's about ready to move. So if you want to be part of that, go ahead and get yourself some biltong. And guys, seriously, if you like jerky, I almost tell you don't do it, because jerky will never be the same after you've tried biltong if you never had. Anton makes it right. It's really good stuff. Check it out. With that, let's go ahead and we will bring our special guest on, Moritz. And I'm going to try to say your last name, Kaminski. Is that right?
That's perfect.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I grew up in central Pennsylvania. We were, I'm Ukrainian, Lithuanian, Polish, Romanian. Like, we had all of that. So I'm pretty good at things that end in ski. But welcome to the show, Moritz.
Thanks a lot for having me, Jack. Yeah, no, that's these are my Polish roots, basically. That's where the last name comes from.
Gotcha. So hey, can we start off? I want to talk about Bitcoin and Alby and all, but can we just catch people up on, like, who is Moritz? Like, what was your background before you even knew what a Bitcoin was? And kind of, was it a technical background, a business background? Kind of, who were you before you were part of the Bitcoin community?
I was basically a student. So I studied business and finance. I have a banking and finance master's degree, but that's actually it. Because like towards the end of my studies, I already discovered Bitcoin, so there is not so much of a prehistory.
Gotcha. So that's an interesting thing. And so what I've found with people who become really enamored with Bitcoin is a lot of them don't come out of the finance world. It's almost like they learn too much about the fiat system, and because they know that, they should actually be the most switched on people to Bitcoin. They should get it like that, but they tend to have like this perception bias and this cognitive dissonance where it can't be what it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think maybe the reason that didn't happen to you is because you discovered it while you were still in the educational phase and you hadn't maybe participated and benefited from the employment phase? Because I think what happens is people get into the fiat system, and if they've been in it 5-10 years and are doing really well, they don't want to see the problems in it.
Yeah, that's true. And I also have to admit, actually, what convinced me about Bitcoin in the first place was not necessarily like the purely financial aspect of it. It was not the fact, okay, yeah, we only have 21 million Bitcoin. It's like compared to fiat, it's not that inflationary. At some point, it is not inflationary at all anymore. So that was actually not that what convinced me in the first place. It was rather the fact, okay, we have now digital money that is based on software, so it's programmable, and this means we can always improve it and we can do really cool things with that. And on the other side, also the fact that I can do it like myself, right? I am not relying on any other person to send you a Bitcoin. I can totally do that myself without a bank account, for example, and it's accessible for everybody. So like these properties are the ones that ultimately convinced me of, okay, this must be something.
So I come from a business background myself, not really a finance background, more of like technology and technology recruiting and things like that. We used to run a contract company with about 2,500 contractors all around the world at any given time. And I feel like I should have gotten this faster. You just used the term, and I never got the term. And I've been in Bitcoin since 2013, but I never really got super excited and just became Bitcoin only until a few years ago. And it was when I understood Lightning that I actually understood the value of the term programmable money. And I almost think that Bitcoin can't be that in a way that makes sense without something like Lightning to enable it. I got pretty excited back in the day when I was still into shitcoining, and Bitcoin Cash came out, and it wasn't really about it being faster or whatever. Like, screw that. It's an illusion anyway. But they had something called Simple Ledger Protocol. And when I looked at that, I was like, okay, wait, no, this is how you get this full integration. And why can't Bitcoin do something like that? And then SLP did absolutely nothing. No one ever did anything with it. And then Lightning came out, and then it took a couple years to kind of mature. And then all of a sudden you have apps everywhere that are integrating Bitcoin. And then as that started to happen, like, I'm like, okay, the last use case of any shitcoin just went out the window. How does that relate into, like, is that part of why you guys created Alby in the first place?
Definitely. So, if there was not something like Lightning, maybe Alby would have never been created, right? So that was really like that's the core technology that we are building on. We say, okay, Bitcoin first, and we want to enable Bitcoin payments, and Lightning is just like the major, let's say, payment technology currently on Bitcoin, and that's why we are building a Lightning wallet in the first place. And the reason is that we have something like programmable money, but if we look at the internet, we have a way to transfer information freely, right, across the globe. But we never had something where we can actually transfer value and attach it to information also freely across the web. But with Bitcoin, we suddenly have something like that. And the Lightning Network was exactly this transport layer, where we can now transport this valuable Bitcoin out there between you and me, between everybody globally.
What was the kind of reasoning behind the way you approach this with a browser plugin versus a more conventional wallet? I think there's some really great answers to that now, when we've seen certain wallets like go away, especially for American users. Was that forward thinking, or was it more about, because your technology to me is so beyond the fact that you're a Lightning wallet, the integration with things like Nostr apps and other websites, that's what makes Alby really stand out to me. Is that why you did it, or were you kind of forward thinking in that if I make something a browser plugin, then good luck taking it away?
True, yeah. From that perspective, it's a fully client-side application, so nobody really can shut it down. That's true, but it's more like the vision of Alby, why we started it. We want to build a payment wallet for applications out there. We want to be tightly integrated in applications because we believe that's where Bitcoin can provide a lot of value to users, right? When they want to transfer within a social media app, for example, want to transfer payments back and forth. And a browser extension is just this super interesting bridge between Lightning Wallet on the one side and the web application on the other side. And that's why we started off with the Alby browser extension, basically. And yeah, since then have expanded into other fields because we learned a lot what users need and how we can make it better. But that was the initial idea, basically, building something for apps.
So the way I ended up getting involved with Alby and starting to use it is I was really getting deep into Lightning, and I wanted to know pretty much at the time, which was, I guess, was about 3 years ago, what works, what does Lightning. So Wallet of Satoshi, Get Alby, all of these things. I tried everything. And so I guess that was fortuitous that I kind of resisted Nostr for a bit, because I already had Alby when I decided to go into Nostr. So when I found Nostr and I finally like, hey, I'm going to set up a Nostr, it turned out that Alby could manage my Nostr key pair. And so I'm like, well, that's what I'm going to do. And there was a very good reason for it. It was more secure. It was only in one location instead of having to give everybody the private key. And so I set up, I think the first client I used was Snort or something like that. It was either Snort or Iris. And I'm like, okay, this is cool. And then people started mentioning these other Nostr clients to me. And I'll check that out. And I'd pull it up. And when I would go to create an account or anything with that app, it would immediately pull up the Alby extension and just boom. And there it was. And that went, wow. Like, oh, wait a minute. And I actually came up with this slogan. I wish it would take off. One key pair in your tribe is everywhere, right? Like,
yes,
that's what happens. Like, you jump on this new app and you're still connected to everybody. You get some bullshit about pulling up your email program and bothering everybody that you know to come join X or join Facebook or some crap like that. It's just, if somebody's already connected to you in some way, they're still connected to you there. Now, I think things are maybe going to change a little bit, like with note kinds and stuff like that, because we're playing with a chat app we can talk about later right now on Nostr. That doesn't happen exactly the same way. But the fact that somebody's like, well, check out Nostrudel, and I go there and I just click boom and I'm set up. I'm like, are you kidding me? And I think if people could understand that they would see a lot more value to what Alby does beyond just being a wallet.
Yeah, true, right? So incorporating all these open protocols like Bitcoin, like Lightning and Nostr. Then like the experience that you create there is not possible that you see from like these big monolithic social media apps like Twitter or Facebook. That's amazing, I think. And it was a very cool coincidence. The Alby extension is an app that is really just in your browser, and therefore can actually also store secrets like private keys for Nostr or for Bitcoin, for example, and the Alby organization doesn't know anything about that. So it's really fully self-custodial in this case. And then you can basically surf the world of Bitcoin and Nostr apps and transact freely there. So that's a great use case to combine these two, because what we see now with Nostr is you have a use case of spending and receiving payments, for example. I mean, there are tons of others, but this is just one great use case of where you want to make one payment to a lot of people, no matter where they are. Can be in any country. It doesn't matter. Payment is instantly there thanks to the Lightning Network.
You know, I cover a lot of stuff. I'm not a Bitcoin dedicated show. So like yesterday we were doing a show looking into like technological future and big government and all that. The day before we were doing current events. Last week I did a show on raising quail. So I don't always have time to track down things and help people as best I can. I have been advising people for as long as I've known, if you're going to get on Nostr, get on Alby first, generate your private key and your NPub and your NSEC there, and use this technology we're talking about. And what will happen is I'll get some, I just set up Nostr and you look at they've just started and all. And I always end up telling them like, look, go generate a key pair and start over because you haven't done anything yet. But is there a way for someone who already has set up on Nostr, already has an NSEC and an NPub, to open their Alby extension and put that information in instead of generating and then out? Because there's a lot of people that don't have Alby that are on Nostr, and I feel like they would benefit from that. And I'm betting you can. I just don't know how. So, and I haven't had time to figure it out. Did I break him? He's not moving. He's stuck. Are you there? Okay, you froze up on us, Moritz. I don't know if you heard that question. It was basically, can a person who already is on Nostr input their key pair into Alby if they didn't generate it from Alby?
Yes, they can, absolutely. So that's how we built the Alby extension. They can even, for example, if they manage several Nostr profiles, they can also manage several Nostr keys there. That's up to them.
Okay, so you could manage more than one key pair with a single Alby account, is what you're saying?
You would need to connect different Alby accounts.
Okay.
So what you could also do is you can connect the same account just like 2 or 3 times and always add a different Nostr key to it.
Okay. So you're better off probably one-to-one for most people. I mean, one thing to keep in mind about my audience as we're talking here, I have a lot of boomers and I have a lot of Xers that act more like boomers than Xers, right? So technophobes a little bit here. So like if we get into something too technical, we just kind of on-ramp stuff for these folks, because I'm just trying to get people off zero is what I'm trying to do most of the time here. I've also found like advanced users figure stuff out. They just stick around with it. It's people that haven't started yet that we got to get moving in. So I think most people will be better off one-to-one. And if you want multiple keys, you'll probably figure out that. Can you talk a little bit about how Alby is just simply helping people use Bitcoin, receive Bitcoin, send Bitcoin, especially in our environment now where, like, if I want to send you $500 using Bitcoin on just about any wallet, whether it's some crappy thing like Off an Exchange, whether it's a software wallet, whether it's a hardware wallet, air gap, whatever, it's pretty straightforward and it's not really expensive. If I want to send you $5, that's a problem, and that's where Lightning comes in. So can you talk a little bit of how that's helping people?
Yeah, exactly. So coming from the browser extension, that's where we started. We really encountered the same problem is, okay, There is no really easy to use wallet out there. So that's why we built basically an Alby account that lets you send and receive Bitcoin payments, see a nice transaction list, and basically store the Bitcoin that you receive while surfing the world of Bitcoin apps, for example. We expanded that also into different use cases, like, for example, value for value payments, where we give also creators the chance to receive payments. We give them also a lightning address. That makes it really easy, like, right? So a lightning address is just like an email address that lets you receive a Bitcoin directly into your account. And that's, I would say, like a level easier than many other wallets out there.
Okay. There has been some people asking me, especially as like doing some pre-show like intel gathering on Primal or Nostr, really. Like what questions you have, and there was some people who were a little bit concerned, like how secure is a browser extension? Some people, are complete purists. They self-host everything, like 100%. They run their own node, their own Lightning node. And I do that too, but it's like I'm not a purist that way. From my understanding, browser extensions are pretty damn secure. The amount of money is not something that concerns me at all, because if you're holding $100,000 in a Lightning browser extension wallet, there's something wrong with your brain. It's for small purchases and daily interaction and things like that. Where I do agree that you do have to have some consideration here is like, it would really suck for me if my X account with 26,000 followers was hacked and somebody could impersonate me. Well, if somebody could get into my Alby, they now can do that across the board with all this wonderful connection to Nostr apps. They would have that access too and could impersonate me. So how secure is a browser extension, and is there any like best practices to make sure it stays as secure as it can be?
Yeah. So if they hack Alby, they will not get your Nostr private key per se, because we do not store the Nostr private key. So, and what I mean is like Alby, the organization, getalby.com, the web app, for example. But if they hack your computer, and then they might get access to all the files, documents that are there, and also to the browser extension. But what happens here is that we encrypt all the sensitive key material, for example, that is stored in the browser extension in the local storage. So it's basically there, but it's encrypted, and only you can decrypt it with your password.
So that's actually really a great thing, because most of us are not important enough that an individual hacker wants to come after an individual person, right? Unless you're like some gazillionaire with a giant bank account in Switzerland or something, like you're not worth it. What hackers like is databases. They like to grab a hold of everybody's information. So what you're saying is the data itself is mine. I have it. It's in the extension. It's not on a server somewhere at Alby headquarters. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, we are not a like custodian in terms of money service business or data custodian in terms of like sensitive key material.
That you are custodial in the Lightning form Bitcoin, though, like, whatever couple 100,000 sats I have sitting in Alby right now. I don't have self-custody. I know there's a way I can, but I don't worry about $50, just to be blunt. Like, I'm going to spend that money anyway. That's what it's for. It's like a spending wallet, right? Like I say this all the time about Lightning in general. Like if I'm going to go out for a weekend and go to a bar, I go to an ATM and throw $100 and 520s in my pocket. I don't worry about losing it. I'm not happy if I lose it, but I don't really care, right?
That's true until recently.
Okay.
So we made a like just the next step for us as a company also, and really follow the Bitcoin ethos to like more decentralization, if you want. So and now we are now offering every new user a self-custodial wallet, which is called Alby Hub.
Okay.
All existing users like you or the ones who signed up until like March this year, they have the managed wallet that you've been talking about. Yes.
Okay. So this Alby hub that's self custodial, like I run a Lightning node and I manage that using a wallet called Zeus, but I have to run a node, right, to be able to have custody. So if a person is doing self custody with Alby hub, do they need to be running a node, or if not, how does that work?
Yeah, so the default package that you get is Alby Hub with an integrated Lightning node. But it's not like that you need to that you think of, okay, I need to interact with the CLI, for example, and look for channel partners. Also, no, that's not the case. I'm spinning it up is like literally a matter of like 2 minutes and 5 clicks, and that's
Okay.
it. And then you have your Alby Hub with an integrated Lightning node. You have your own keys, and we cannot take your money away anymore. And all the services that you know from Alby are still working. The browser extension is working, the Lightning address is still working, and all the cool things that we have also on our roadmap. That's all possible. And for the very advanced users like you, who already have a Lightning node running somewhere, there in this case you can just like connect an existing Lightning node to an Alby hub.
Okay.
But that's really like that's not a lot for the majority. We make it extremely easy by spinning them up their own hub in the web.
I'm probably going to shut my Lightning node down. Honestly, I think that if you're running a business or something and you're using it a lot, or you're a node runner and you're doing it for fees and you're being strategic about your liquidity balance and where you place and which other nodes, like there's a reason for it. But I think the average user doesn't need it. There's nothing I want to do that I can't do without a node. And so, but this circles back to my question for the middle thing, that like the person that just signs up today and has the hub, as to liquidity balance. So if I have custody, the way I understand, I have a node and I have to worry about outgoing and incoming liquidity. So if you have this Alby hub thing, do you have to worry about that? Or is that how does, I don't really understand how that works. Did you miss what I said? Oh, God damn it. I'm telling you guys, whenever I do Bitcoin content, this happens. We'll wait and see if Moritz comes back. There he is. Yeah. All right. I don't know what's going on. I was just telling the audience while you were lost there that whenever I do Bitcoin content, it seems like there's interference. What I'm asking is, if a person has Alby hub, self-custody, but they don't have a node, how does liquidity balance fit into there? Because I have to balance liquidity on my node or it won't work. I have to make sure there's enough inbound liquidity. And how does that work then?
Yeah. So when you start up Alby hub, with like one click, you have your Lightning channel that connects your hub to the big Lightning network, basically,
Okay.
and then you can send and receive payments.
Okay.
And if you are really super active, then at some point there might be some rebalancing. And then you can use some tools that we recommend. For example, you can just with another click open a new channel. But we expect that depends on your use case, that not a lot of users will run into the problem of constantly rebalancing their channels. Because if you receive and spend regularly the same amount, then there is no need of rebalancing. It's only when you receive constantly just like in one direction, either only spending or only receiving, that makes it a little bit tricky.
Okay. So somehow you're involved in that. Like, one of my questions for you is, how the hell does Alby make any money? I'm not one of these people that begrudges the company making money. I want companies to make money, because if I'm relying on them, I want them to go away. Are you guys making all your money through fees? Because I mean, if there was like some premium service or something I could buy from you, I would buy it just to support what you're doing.
Yeah, with Alby Hub, we are offering basically a convenience package. So if you want, so it's like the Alby Platin, where we offer you to spin up a Alby Hub wallet for you in the cloud, and you do not need to install anything locally. You don't need to worry about updates. It's basically a white glove service for a monthly fee.
Okay. That's good to know. I'm going to look into that. One of the things you guys really do is you help creators earn sats. I earn sats all the time. I receive them in a variety of different ways. I get boosts and streams on Fountain, which you guys are now able to integrate with. I post all of my content, announcements, all that stuff on Nostr through various clients, and people zap me and send me stuff. Can you talk about some other ways, or maybe more on those, of ways that you actually enable creators to monetize their efforts?
Yeah, so that's the most important already. That you mentioned, right? It's like for podcasters, for musicians, for example, they receive regularly payments, and they can use the Alby Hub for that, because they can put in their payment details, for example, in a RSS feed, and the users can stream money to them. Listeners can stream money to them. Listeners can send boostergrams to them, and it all gets like they can always receive that in their hub. But that's just one thing. So there's also, for example, every Alby Hub user gets a Lightning address. They can add this Lightning address into the description of their YouTube channel, for example. They can add that into the description of their Twitter account, for example, Linktree. So in major, let's say, social media platforms, and people then, or listeners with an Alby extension, can visit this social media profile and can send some Bitcoin to them right at the place where they actually consume the content. So these are just a few ways of how we can how we help creators. Another example is we have a WordPress plugin, for example, that you can integrate into your WordPress page with a paywall for articles, for videos, for example, or just like a donation widget that you can put there and receive some sats from your visitors.
You know, that last one seems like something a lot of these bigger publications should be using. I'll see somebody post an article from Wall Street Journal or Forbes or something on Nostr or on X or wherever, or somebody will email me a link and I'll click it and it'll say, subscribe. Sometimes I don't even want money. They want you to give them. I don't want to give them information, but a lot of times they want like $59 a year or $7 a month or something like that. And I'm like, I'm not subscribing to every single publication out there. But if they asked me for 50 cents worth of Bitcoin and I could click a button, I would just do it. And it would seem like sooner or later, some of these bigger publishers might switch on to and figure that out. Because if you have that extension, your little B just turns green and you know that there's a monetary association with that site. Have you guys worked with anybody that's maybe a little bit larger or a little bit more mainstream yet on something like that?
So there have been, for example, some talks with Replit as an example. That's more like the developer economy. On the publisher side, there was a bigger German publisher that we have been talking with, but they are still like quite cautious when it comes to the public perception of Bitcoin, just because of the scam that has been happening with altcoins, and what it can and the impact on how people think about it. So that's why especially bigger companies are still a bit careful there.
I got you. And I wanted to show people something. So I'm wondering if this can combine one of my other questions here. Hopefully that this will stay up. If not, I'll get it back up. So one of the things that you can do with Alby is just by certain sites anyway, by putting your Alby address on that page. then people can send you Bitcoin just using their extension. I have that little snippet of code in all my YouTube video descriptions. So if somebody's on my YouTube channel and they use Alby and they're like, hey, this video is worth $1, they can use their little beat. But when I click this, it says you're using the old LND setup. Now everything's working for me. Please reconnect to your Alby account to get access to the latest features. If I do that, is that what is then going to allow me to convert over to this new Alby Hub? Did you lose me again? This is maddening. Did you lose me again? Damn. I'm telling you guys, there is something afoot here. It's only Bitcoin shows. It is only, there he is, device knock. There he is at the stage. All right.
Man. Oh man.
I know you couldn't hear me again or whatever. Did you hear the question? The question was basically, I'll try this again. Let's see. If I am sitting on my Twitter right now where I have the Alby code in so people can all, send me stuff. If I click on it, it says you're using the old LND Hub setup. Please reconnect your Alby account to get access to the latest features. What I was getting at there is, does that mean if a person does that they'll convert to this new Alby Hub thing from their old account like I have?
No, probably this. You might be like a very, very early subscriber at Alby, and that's why you might need to activate your account.
Okay.
And reconnect it to the browser extension. No, we do not force any current users on the Alby Hub. We try to convince them step by step to move over, just because it's a like really way better wallet.
But you can do it. That's my big thing. You can convert over without setting up a whole new account.
Yes. If you are an existing Alby user, you can go to getalby.com, enter the dashboard, and then in the settings you find subscriptions, and there are two options. You can choose the do-it-yourself way, which is free, or you can choose the way where we basically do it for you. It's called Alby Cloud, and then you pay a small monthly fee for that.
Okay, I'm going to do that when we're done. I'm not going to try to do that while we're in the middle of an interview. We're having enough technical difficulties. Okay, cool. But I like being able to convert over. Can you talk about maybe the other side of things? We talk about creators, but like people buy stuff. People want to exchange value. So how does this help the consumer? Oh, no. Again, what is going on here? Okay, he's going to bounce and come back. I'm going to have some editing on the audio side here today. I don't understand what's going on. It's like every 20, 30 seconds or so, he can't hear me is what's going on, if you guys haven't figured this out. So I don't know what is – maybe he's just got a faulty headset, and it has nothing to do with the electronic jamming equipment of the black helicopter outside my window. All right, so let's try it again. The question was – How does Alby benefit the consumer? That's a short version.
Yeah. So that's it's really like the consumer is like for us a key adopter of Bitcoin Lightning, because I think also they are adopting the technology extremely quickly compared to like bigger enterprises, for example, and that's why we build for them. And try to make this stuff like as easy to use as possible, and also that you see when you, for example, spin up your Alby Hub, it's not comparable to other node management tools out there. You don't really feel that you manage a node while still having full control of your Bitcoin, and also, in my point of view, way more affordable than other Lightning wallets that try to hide some fees and make it unnecessarily expensive for users. So that's why consumers and creators, artists, that's the one that we are building for. And And yeah, also like independent developers, smaller developer, they have our APIs that they can interact with, and we also completely abstract away Lightning things, so they just need to use their JavaScript tools, environments, and don't need to know about how to run a Go-based L&D node, for example.
Okay. Because I think sometimes people think it's a technical person can do anything technical, but we all have our own expertise of what we're able to do. And a lot of times when you ask somebody to add like one more thing to what they're doing, they're like, no. So if you give them an easy button, they'll take it. And I do think it's important that we start thinking more about supporting developers and supporting content creators, et cetera. You know, I've got a pretty solid monetization model in my podcast, but I've been around a long time with it, predating even really anybody using Bitcoin for anything other than Silk Road. A lot of new content creators, they really need to find ways. But the other thing we need to do is like, I get worried about a lot of these Nostr devs because they're doing all this work and I don't see any monetization. And I think like throw like whatever your favorite apps are, throw those devs a little bit of money once in a while. Like there's no free lunch. I think we've gotten to this place where everything's supposed to be free. And what I would like is everything to be inexpensive, because if everything's inexpensive, then people are not kind of really tight-fisted with money, and then they're more likely to spread some value around. And if you build something successful, there'll be enough value coming to you. Where if we don't get in that mindset, I think that some of this stuff, as brilliant as it is, it's on shaky ground. I think there's some other really interesting ideas, though, that will change things over time. Like right now we have kind of like two forms of marketing. We have push and pull. So pull marketing would be like search engine optimization. You go to Google and search for the best survival podcast and you find my show. You've pulled the marketing that I've preset up. Push is like if I pay Google for a listing, that's push. But what I'm seeing now is like I looked at my Alby dashboard today and I'm looking at sats I've received, and I have a whole shitload probably off Nostr of like one sat zaps, and it's all spam. And I'm like, spam away, baby, let's go. And I see like marketplaces where like people will pay you to see what they're. So instead of the seller paying a third party to advertise, the seller is paying the audience to look. And I think some of that is really coming. And I think it'll be services like yours that enable that.
Yeah, I also think so. I think like the attention from us consumers is getting more and more expensive. So we need to give them something in return, and giving them something valuable, like Bitcoin could be one thing. And Alby, I think, is great. It's very well positioned here because we are sort of the interface between the consumer on the one hand and the application, for example, a video platform, a Nostr platform, on the other side. So the Alby extension, for example, could be really the bridge that enables that. And we do also like some hackathons sometimes internally within the team, and we also then injected like Lightning functionality in ad blockers. Ad blockers are actually huge, right? So I think 3 of the top 10 browser extensions are ad blockers, and we picked 2 and integrated Lightning there. And each of them, they have I think more than 30 million users.
Oh wow!
So technically, every browser extension could run with the Lightning functionalities, but we also need this mindset shift. We need like business development, and create then these cases where that makes people use also these payments. So there is no, let's say, hardly any technical limitations in this regard anymore.
I do see some of the like twisted mindset sometimes. I guess like somebody watches this podcast or any podcast or reads somebody's blog or news site or whatever, and like they get kind of twisted and bent if something costs 100 sats, let's say it's 3 cents, but they're spending $120 a month for internet from the cable provider without even thinking about it, and they don't realize that everything they're consuming through that pipeline, 100% of the money they're spending is going to Spectrum or Elon Musk's Starlink or whatever, AT&T, Verizon, whoever they're buying their internet from. And the people that are making the content for them largely either get nothing or they're controlled. Like one of the main reasons I run an independent monetization program is I don't care what YouTube does. Like if I woke up tomorrow, my YouTube account was gone, I'd be pissed, but I would just go on with my life. Like for some creators, like I saw this, nothing to do with Bitcoin or anything, but this YouTube creator on a show called Unlocked. It's like different housing options. And this dude's renting a place in LA for 40 grand a month as a YouTube creator. And I'm like, good for you, but, and you're gone. And you're just gone. And you're never getting it back. There's nothing you can do, which means most of these really big time YouTube creators, and I know some of them, I've talked to them, there's a thumb on them. They had a deal made. We'll make you what it looks like you can become, but you will do things the way we tell you, at least to a degree. You won't talk about these things. You'll only talk about those things. And if you want to liberate your creators, then you have to exchange some value with them so that, because if you don't, somebody else is going to, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's and technologies like Bitcoin on Nostr are great for reducing this risk, right? Because you can suddenly receive payments not only on one platform but on different, and you can publish not only on one platform but on different, and it's super easy for users to follow you. So that's I think it's a great development, and yeah, and regarding your point that there is that this mindset is still a bit twisted. That's true. It's because Lightning is around like 5 years, and the
Yeah.
capability to send money is like freely across the internet. People don't grow up with that, right? Everybody of us grows up with, I don't know, like some media subscriptions, for example, where we spent the money for like tens of years,
Yeah.
and suddenly we have something new. And I think this just like people need to learn that just needs to get into people's attention more and more.
So I've made fun of boomers a little bit here, and older Xers. I'm a younger Xer, I guess, or a middle Xer, but there is a dividing line. Like people my age and older, I feel like we spend most of our time generating, consuming content behind a keyboard. Like I'm on a MacBook right now talking to you. I run a Mac and a PC because they do different things better, right? And I will spend 90% of my time online on a computer. If I'm on a mobile, like a phone, it's because I'm not home or my computer's over there and my phone's in my hand. I need to do one thing, right? Like that. I am not a mobile user. Most people younger than me do 90%. They're exact opposite, right? I'm teaching my grandson. He's 13 to podcast right now. He's doing shit on a phone I didn't even know you could do. He's learning to like edit video and bring in clips and all this shit. So I know there's a way somehow to use Alby on a mobile device, but I can't figure it out because like I run the Brave browser on my mobile and it's neutered. I can't install the Alby extension on iOS in Brave, right? So is there a way, like I also have an above phone and I can do whatever I want there, but is there a way for the person using a standard carrier phone to actually use Alby that's not too complicated in mobile?
Yes, there is. For Android, you can already do that today. If you have a Firefox browser installed on your mobile phone, that's 100% 100% compatible also with then the Alby extension, so you can have Alby mobile experience there. For iOS, we are still waiting for Apple for a fix so that we can also publish the mobile version of the browser extension on iOS. And
so you can do it on Android, Google. You can't do it on iOS right now, is what you're saying.
Yeah, not yet. Not yet. Yeah.
My guess is they'll never do it. They're jerks. They want 25% of all in-app purchases, and that's why they like kicked Damas in the nutsack, because like they said like it could be used for in-app purchases, as though me zapping you 3 cents because you said something cool is an in-app purchase. Like, yeah. But I was also thinking like, yeah, it totally could be used for an in-app purchase, because I could say, hey, if you want this, zap me $50, and people can do it. It has happened, but I think I don't know if you'll ever get past that. And that sucks for Apple users, but that's all us boomers and Xers that are on Apple. Everybody else is on Android. You guys are all the cool kids.
That's true, but yeah, if you use web apps like through the browser on mobile, you do not have these limitations. But yeah, if with native apps, you will have these limitations, and you might fight with Apple because of these rules, which are definitely debatable. I would say.
It's selective is my problem with it, and then sometimes it's selective in a way I don't want to say anything because I don't want to cause problem for the people that are in the loophole. Like, they took away Zaps on Damus, but hopefully nobody from Apple's listening. Fountain is like a hugely popular Apple app, and there's a hell of a lot more money flowing around there, in my opinion. I think the value for value stuff that Adam Curry set up, like, that's probably the most used thing in Lightning right now, not for dollars, but numbers of transactions. And that's just ignored. And then Primal, who I love, but I feel like they cut a deal with the devil because Primal now has a native wallet in iOS, and you can literally buy $5 at a time of Lightning Bitcoin through the iOS store. But that means you're all KYC and all that other crap. So, like, I feel like there's this weird, like, at some point, maybe Apple just goes like, maybe if we did the shit that people wanted, more people would use us. But I don't think they're there yet.
Yeah, unfortunately not. I think ultimately, if we want to get into big adoption, then we need to find a good like alliance with Apple on this side.
It's either going to be that, or what's going to happen is there's going to be like people are going to stop having phones altogether. People are going to have like a mini tablet that can make a phone call. That's not Apple. It's not Android. It's just that hardware to make in mass is so expensive that, like, even companies like Above Phone, all they're doing is taking an Android phone and basically software gutting it and then installing graphene and then creating their own system on top of it. But I think people, if the carriers and the producers don't come around soon, there is a disruption opportunity there for somebody to make something like, whatever you want to put, it's yours, man. You want to put a fully enabled Chrome-based browser on it? Go ahead. We don't care. Because Apple does this everywhere. Like, I don't know if you've ever used Apple TV. You don't really need it anymore now. Every TV's smart. But like in the early days, like we got Apple TV, you can't even install their browser on Apple TV because it would give you too much freedom from the way they've siloed everything. It to me, that's crazy. Like, why wouldn't you give me access to a browser? So if I like want to put something on TV and it's not on YouTube where there's a YouTube app, then I pull up my MacBook, I go to that place, and like if we're watching a video like from Tucker Carlson or something, because my wife loves him, I just AirPlay it to the TV. I can't even do that on Apple TV. So it seems like there's just a whole disconnect from the future in Apple right now, which is supposed to be like this incredibly future-looking company.
Yeah, right. And then you look at like upcoming ecosystems of Nostr, where you have these totally different apps. Every app serves a bit of a different use case, has its own strength, but somehow you can just plug in your keys and bring your identity and your wallet from app to app with just like one click, right?
That's what's exciting, because I see the whole app scene changing to monetized apps. Instead of apps that you pay a subscription for, apps that you earn money by using, and then through fees, the app developer will take some portion of that, which I have no problem with. What I've said, now I wonder if my timeline was a little too aggressive, because I said it like 2 years ago. I said within 5 years, you look at your phone, all the apps on that, if they can be monetized, they will be monetized or they will be gone. Maybe it's going to take more than another 3 years for that to happen. But I look at things like the Waze app. I don't know if you're familiar with Waze. It's a traffic and maps app. And so, like, if I'm driving from here to Nashville, I stick it in. It tells me just like the native app, but it does something else. Like, I'll be driving along and a little whoopee light comes up and an alert, and it says there's a cop ahead. And so I know to slow down, or there's a road hazard, so I know to slow down. And my last trip to Tennessee, it saved me like 3 times from getting speeding tickets because I was hooking ass 90 mile an hour, and there's the cop on the thing, and then you say still there. I'm like, why can't somebody build that app with Lightning so that the person that reports and rots out the cop or reports the semi that's tipped over, you can voluntarily tip that person. And then every app I look at, I'm like, I can see a way to do that. And I think if you can do that, and then you can take something like Alby and make this app interface interaction, then if I'm an app developer, if I don't have to worry about that's like you talked about the Java use earlier and the developer not really need to do anything except drop you in. Like to me, that puts you in a really key position because I can't see why you wouldn't do it. And it's not just because I'm greedy and I want Bitcoin. I know what network effects are. And I know like a traffic app or a spot to fish app or come up with anything you want. The more people that use it actively, the greater the network effect, and therefore it works better. So even the person that doesn't care about the money will choose the app that is most likely to get them where they need to go in time safely, for instance, with a traffic app. So nothing is more viral than money. So it would seem like there's a huge opportunity there, and Apple's in their own way.
Yeah, definitely. And you also already see that actually. There is these category called data vending machines in the Nostr ecosystem. So these are like, you can say it's almost like little independent agents that get paid in Bitcoin over Lightning. And what they do is basically they optimize images, for example. They cut out some parts of your podcast to summarize it. And that works all over Nostr and with Bitcoin actually. So there you already see how like these basically autonomous services can work with payments.
Where are you guys thinking kind of your future roadmap? What is like the next things in your plans for Alby?
So one thing is that will come out soon is also a native mobile app for our users.
All right.
Especially for all Alby Hub users. So the idea is really like there's one place where you need to go for Lightning payments, and this is Alby, and then it's available everywhere you go. So it's available in your browser, as you already know, but it's also available on the go if you want to send and receive payments while out of home, for example. And that's possible thanks to this native mobile app that's coming out. So that's one part. And the other part is also we want further automate Alby Hub so that you really do not touch any channels at all. And I'm pretty sure that we will get there. The progress that we've done over the last months is amazing, and I cannot even imagine where we are like in another 6 months. So the speed is really cool, and I think all existing users all just keep talking. I cannot keep up with all the updates of my hub. You guys are faster than I can learn this stuff. So I think that's good. Especially like in the short term, it's exciting, and in the long term, we want to get more of these use cases that we've talked about here in the last 60 minutes when it comes to supporting creators, for example, but also consumers using these media platforms that they are compensated for their attention accordingly. So the tools are there, but also we need to like develop a business case around that, and that's something that we will also focus on the next month.
Do you anticipate any issues with like this standalone wallet app? Is what it sounds like you're talking about. Like it'll just be a B on my thing, and boom, and there's my Alby wallet. Back to the big beast, man, Apple, because like Wallet of Satoshi, you can still install it on iOS. You can receive Lightning payments to it on iOS. You can't send, if you're a US citizen, you can't send Lightning payments from it, but you can like accumulate enough to send it as a standard on-chain Bitcoin transaction because that's obviously traceable. Strike works just fine as long as Strike will approve your freaking account, because for every person it does, it rejects somebody else. But they're KYC, and that's their loophole. And Wallet of Satoshi is like, fuck you, we're not doing KYC. So Apple's like, well, then you have to disable this, or we're going to take you away. Damn it. What is going on today, folks? Man, now Apple's pissed. That's what it is. Let's see. All right. Yeah. Anyway, short version of the question. Do you see any problems with being able to have a standalone wallet app on Apple?
No, not at all. We are actually already approved. That was for a finance app quite quick.
Okay.
The reason is that Alby Hub is self-custodial, so we are not a money service business in this case anymore. And also the mobile app does not store any money. So it just connects to the hub in the cloud, and I think that's ultimately a very smart move, because we will not run into the difficulties of Strike, where we need to KYC our users.
This is beautiful. This makes me think of a meme that came out recently, and it's like two guys in business suits looking at a report, and they have little things over their faces, and one's like the anarchist little face, and then one's a libertarian face, and the one's saying to the other, these new regulations will fundamentally alter the way that we get around them. And that's what I just heard. Like, okay, this is what you've set up. These are your rules. So we'll just fit the puzzle piece to your rules, and we're going to make our user experience better at the same time. That's awesome. That is, I refer to that because sometimes it's corporatism, but it's also usually the state is causing the corporation to do it. So I call it statist jujitsu, like using their own rules and turning them back on them. That is awesome, man. I'm excited to hear that. We talked about podcasting in the integration with Fountain, and Fountain finally got that right to where, like, if I make a comment on or boost somebody on Fountain and I'm connected to they actually work with Nostr now, and also that's all great, and I can use Alby with Fountain. But you guys are more like, Fountain is not all of value to value in podcasting. You guys work with other ways that people can support podcasters, right?
Yes. So we believe that direct integrations is where the Bitcoin Lightning adoption works best. So that's why we give these APIs to podcast hosting companies, for example, to integrate wallets. We give our APIs also to listener apps like Podcast Guru, Podverse, for example, and to integrate basically listener wallets, because you want to tie, I think, an action as close as possible to a payment, right? You want to listen, and then in this very moment you also want to reward the person that basically entertains you, that gives you content, and that's why it fits greatly into with these direct integrations.
This is really more a Nostr connection question, but I've just found a tremendous number of apps over time, because, and some are Nostr, some are not, because of Alby, because you have, like, in your account, you can go in and see all these other apps that you can connect with. Are there any new ones, or any in particular besides the various Twitter clones, which is what most people are familiar with, that you guys are connecting with now that you are particularly like this is a cool thing, or you really like it, or you use it yourself? Because I think most people think Nostr is just a Twitter clone, right, with a different logos on it, depending on what app you use. But there's, like, we're doing a thing called Oxchat right now. We're using, because of what's going on with Telegram, and like, so are there any, like, and when I set that up, it was like click, boom, bam, done. I'm set up like instantly. Like, Are there any of these new apps that you guys are, like, really excited about, or maybe want people to know about?
I think, like, first of all, everybody could go on, I think it's on getalby.com/discover. There is really a bunch of apps that you can try out when you haven't tried out Lightning yet. And I think, a few are really cool. So one of them is Cascader, actually, which helps you to summarize podcasts, for example. I think.
What is that called again?
Cascader.
Cascader. Oh, this right here. Okay.
Yes, this one. So
Okay.
so they create, I think, transcripts, for example. They create summaries for you automatically. I think then the one like Unleashed Chat, 3 to the right here. It's also quite a new app, also different use case, where you can pay AI agents with and you do not pay like big cloud models, but especially trained and local ones. So that's an interesting use case beyond these social media, let's say, short form content apps. I think there are also a few great long form content apps, like blog platforms, actually, that people can check out and see if they find some good content there.
That's awesome. The Cascader thing, like, I have people getting in touch with me all the time trying to charge me lots of money to do transcripts. And I'm like, I'm not objectionable to providing the service. I actually see, like, my technical guy, Tom, and I have actually, like, briefly brainstormed some ideas. Like, if we transcripted every podcast, we could build a WordPress extension that made all the transcripts searchable. And then, since you can jump in a player to a time slot on the site, somebody that wanted to know about something like breeding quail could type that in, find it in transcripts, and play right from those segments. And I actually found a service that does something very similar to that recently, but it's expensive. And again, I'm not objectionable to paying for things, but like, I don't see dumping $6,000. Oh my God. Anyway, I'm just going to talk, guys. I don't see dumping $6,000 into doing that with my catalog of past shows. And that would only be the stuff from YouTube forward. So that's a really cool service there. And we've just had Moritz out and back again, but I think you can kind of pick up where we were. Like, the one that does the transcripts alone is really freaking cool.
Yes, definitely. And it gets even cooler if you could at some point like really chain these together. So you can then, for example, then also maybe you have an agent that adds a title to this transcript, for example. Then you have an agent that creates a summary, and then you have an agent that publishes it. But all these agents do not work for free, right? And you can then also pay them in a way, on a demand basis, without creating an account, and this only works with a open payment system.
Wow. You guys have I haven't been in this back end for a while. You have way more than I ever really realized. Like, and it's not just like, I know you guys are integrated a lot with Nostr apps. That's what I've got on the screen now for those on the audio, but there's a ton of other things as well. It sounded like we just lost them again. No. And we put them back in. And anyway, man, I'm going to say, let's go ahead and get wrapped up. I'm going to try to real quick do some questions from some people, and we're going to wrap up because this is the most technical problems I've had in a long time. We already did the mobile thing, so we don't need to do that one. Jim says Alby works on his Samsung S21 with Firefox, so you kind of covered that as well. Let's see. Wild Blue Whippets. You got to be at least as old as me, probably know what a whippet is. So you don't need to set up Lightning first. No. Like Alby is a Lightning wallet, and when you set it up, the only problem you'll have is until somebody sends you some or you send yourself some, you don't have any money.
Yes, the Alby Hub, like the new wallet, makes it a little bit more difficult. But there's one cool feature. So what I want to say is, you need to, as an Alby Hub user, you need to set up Lightning first.
Oh,
but
okay.
there's one cool feature. If you find so-called Uncle Jim for you, and who will run a hub for you and gives you a sub account on his Alby Hub, and then you do not need to set up anything. You have like a balance, can receive immediately, can send immediately once you have some sats. And this sub account feature, I think it's amazing, because it's like you have this full wallet of Satoshi experience, but still on a trusted level in a way. Okay, you know this person that holds your money.
Okay. That's probably a bit advanced for right now, but I'm sure the people that are advanced enough to get that will take from it what they need to. Real quick, I want to say to Carson, thank you for the $10 super chat. Actually, $9.99, but I appreciate that. I really enjoyed this conversation. I think that maybe there are probably some questions from this on some of the self-hosted stuff. Like I said, I think people will figure that out if they want, depending on how far they want to go with it. But just so I'm not confused, I've been sending out invite codes like crazy. All these new people signing up, when they sign up, I haven't heard back from anybody saying it didn't work. Is there anything they need to do beyond just set up Alby and start using it with this new thing?
No, it's should be all straightforward. But I'm also, everybody should email me, moritz@getalby.com.
Okay.
I'm happy to onboard everybody, like also personally, because I understand that, dealing sometimes with like new technology and especially with money, people are nervous. But
Yeah.
no worry about that. We have a really cool support service on that. So feel free to email, and we can then get through that together on a phone call.
Okay, cool, man. That's huge that you guys are willing to do that, because there are so many services that people can't get an answer from. So I appreciate that you're willing to do that, folks. Again, if you want an Alby invite code, they were good enough to set me up with a thing. I don't even need to generate it. I have like a special link. I don't know how many people have that, but I have a preset thing in my email signatures. And if you send me an email, jack@thesurvivalpodcast.com, TSPC Alby, ALBY, because apparently nobody could spell it. It's very simple. Nobody can spell it. TSPC Alby in the subject line. That way I'll make sure I pull it out of spam, and I'll get back to you right away. Moritz, is there anything else you want to say to the audience before you go or before they cut you off again?
Good point. No, thanks. It was like really fun to be on the show. I hope a lot of your listeners give Alby up a try. And if they have some difficulties, they can always reach out to me. We are super open. Appreciate everybody giving us feedback to become better.
Thank you, Moritz. Thank you very much. All right, folks, let's go ahead and wrap up. I'll have a little bit of extra editing to do. So if you also catch the audio side of things to re-listen or whatever, instead of like 20 to 30 minutes, probably be closer to an hour before I get the audio side out today. I made some jokes about I don't really, just for those that maybe take things too seriously, I don't really think that there was any government interference. I think it's just an internet connection issue. It's fun to make fun of that stuff, but I think they'd come after me instead of my guest if that were the case. All right. Anyway, guys, real quick as we wrap up, let me remind you guys that one of the ways you can help support this show and the work that we do is to do your online shopping at tspaz.com. That's TSPAZ, tspaz.com. Today's item of the day is the same one as yesterday. It's from Vavor. It's their galvanized raised garden beds. It's amazing to me. It shouldn't be because it's mechanically really simple that they can send you a box that you can just pick up in your two hands and you can bolt it together and you have a 4-foot by 8-foot raised garden bed made out of galvanized metal, which is awesome. Beautiful paint coating on them too. You can get them 2 foot deep or 1 foot deep. 1 foot's deep enough for most of you guys. You'll find if you do the 2 foot deep ones, your real expense will be all the fill unless you have unlimited access to it or something like that. I do 2 feet because it helps keep the ducks out of my stuff. Here, and I have no soil depth at all on my property. For most of you, again, a foot will be fine. This is a product you guys have bought tons of. I think we've moved something for Vavor this year, like $40,000 worth of these things. And I've had no complaints. And I've been talking about this with Vavor. I do get some complaints on quality with Vavor. I've been going back and forth with my rep to come up with some level of resolution there. And I've just decided that I will only promote the Vavor products that I have personally tested, and I cannot commit any more to them till they send me a product this week, and by next week there's a review out. I will have to time test things a little bit more with them, but I'm going to keep working with them. I think you need to look at them like Harbor Freight for everything. They're really cheap, and some of their stuff's really awesome, and some of it's not. And I will try to keep recommending only the best product. Just keep in mind, if you're ordering from Vavor, you can always get 5% off with my discount code. You can find that at tspaz.com. all my Amazon reviews as well. If you're going to order anything from Favor that I have not personally recommended, then what I recommend you do, even if Favor Direct will give you a better price, go to Amazon, look the product up. Almost everything's there. Read the reviews, especially the critical reviews. And their customer service will make things right. What I've learned with them is you have to be a bit of a pain in the ass. If they don't give you what you want the first time, call back. And they do that because they're afraid of fraud or some shit. I don't know. If I don't work with them, then there's a lot of really great stuff they make that I'm really happy with that I've been using. You know, like right here, I have a portable air compressor. This thing is awesome. So I'll try to make sure that I make good recommendations, just like Amazon. Amazon sells garbage too, and I only recommend the good stuff. The thing you can rest assured of, if you see it at tspaz.com, I've owned it, I've bought it, I put my hands on it, I've tested it, and I wouldn't recommend it to you if I wouldn't recommend it to myself or my family. With that, guys, take care. Hope you have a good rest of the week. Tomorrow we'll have an expert council Q&A show for the week. And when we do that, we'll go through a variety of expert stuff, and then we'll have our final show of the week on Friday, which will be a flashback from one of our old interviews from 2011, I believe is what the year we're up to right now with that. And we'll do it all over again next week. Thanks for tuning in today. Remember, this has been both a TSP episode and a Bitcoin breakout episode, so you can find it on either feed on the audio side. And everything we talked about, all the resources Moritz gave me in his app to be on the air, everything we talked about, everything that I added in my notes, if you go to the audio version of the show at thesurvivalpodcast.com, you can get all those links, resources, etc. The thing with that is it will not be live for about another hour. There's a link in the video notes below if you're on the video. You click that link, but if you click at this moment right now or live, there won't be anything there. Take care, guys. I'll catch you tomorrow with that Expert Council show.